everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jilly D, and this is a channel all about the fiber arts, most likely cross stitch right now, but who knows what I might get up to in the future. So I thought I would come to you today to give a little bit more background history on my cross stitch journey and share with you how I ended up starting this channel, and then kind of share with you my preferences and whatnot in terms of cross stitch. So come on in and let's have a little bit of story time. Now, I did cross stitch when I was younger, so thinking back, probably when I got my first big kit, I was probably 15 or 16, so like a teenager. And I mean, the one that stands out in my mind is I got one of those leisure art kits. I think it was Leisure Arts from Michael's. And it was a Teresa Winsler pattern. The one I had was Rapunzel. So it was a woman with very long hair looking out like this castle window. So I actually have it. It took me, I don't know, until I would say I was married with my first, I think, that I had it finished. So like I had started stitching it as a teenager, then went off to college, then got married, and then I think started stitching it again to finish it. And I actually had this one professionally framed. I have it here with me, so I will show you. Here she is in all her glory. So this was a labor of love. I'm sure there's 1,000 mistakes in this, and I have no idea what I was thinking as a teenager, that this was what I was gonna start with. But that's what I did. So this actually has glass on it, so I'm having to tilt it a little bit so that you can see it. And here it is, I guess, a little bit more up close. Anyway, so that was my first one. This, I think I just finished it and that's it. I stopped cross stitching. I mean, at the time I had a toddler and a full-time career, so plus it was so labor intensive. Now with these patterns, if you've never stitched one, they make you take floss of one color and a floss of another color, put them together, and then that's what you use. It's like a blended thread. I think that's what they call it. I don't know why I couldn't think of that, but yeah, you use blended threads. So it's a lot of work. There's also like very heavy confetti stitching. And as you can see, it was full coverage. So yeah, that was a beast. So that was it. That's all I did. That's all I have to show for, actually that's not true. I made a wedding sampler, which I can't find. And I think I had some cross stitch magazines where I had stitched some little, I think that's where the wedding sampler came from, and there was like a heart. Anyway, I cannot find those, so I have no idea where they are. Hold please. All right, I had to do something. I am sweating very badly. Drinking my coffee in the morning. All right, so anyway, fast forward to, let's see, I've only been stitching for yet last year. Okay, so fast forward to 2025, and I am 48 years old. Both of my children are adults now. Everybody's pretty much self-sufficient. And I am what I like to call my granny era, where I just want to do everything analog. And then of course, here I am filming a video. But like, I really wanted to get back to like my old hobbies and like craft. So my daughter, my oldest, Aries, is actually a crafter as well, very artsy, and had cross-stitched some things. And I was like, oh gosh, I remember cross-stitching. That was so much fun. And she had a cute pattern from, I think it was Fine Frog Stitching, of this little monk goose, or yeah, I don't know. It was a little goose dressed with like a cowled hood and like his little robe. Very cute. And I was just like, I love this. So I started searching cross-stitch patterns like on Pinterest and stuff. And I found a Carolyn Manning design. I can't remember what it's called, but it was very pretty. It had like spring vibes, and it was like springtime when it was like March or April of last year. So I stitched that. So, and here, I did not have this professionally framed. I just framed it myself. I found this frame for $3 at the Goodwill, and or a thrift store. I don't think it was the Goodwill. And it had something else in it, like maybe a picture of like a print of flowers. Anyway, I stitched it. It took me a couple of months. I didn't finish it until the summer, but it was the only thing I stitched on. This was before I really knew about Flosstube. So here, if we want to get in close and see, this is stitched on Charles Craft Antique White Aida 14 count. So what I did was I bought everything from 1-2-3 Stitch, and so it's all DMC. I had a paper pattern that I used markers to mark on. I didn't even make a copy, guys. I literally just marked on the pattern, which I now regret doing. Yeah, I don't know the dimensions of this, and I don't even know the name of it. So yeah, but this is my very first one. Let's see. What other details can I tell you? I don't know. Riveting content. Yeah, so anyway, that was Carolyn Manning. Okay, I just like this piece. I did, if I guess to show you, like, guys, this is not a great job. This is a hack job. I got some foam board, and then you know that double-sided tape that you can get from 1-2-3 Stitch? That's what I used to kind of just tighten and do this. So I guess don't look too close is what I'm saying. But yeah, I mean, it works for me and my needs. All right, so that opened up some doors for me. I really enjoyed that. I find cross-stitching very relaxing. However, you know, I think, what did I go to after I did the Carolyn Manning? What did I do? Honestly, let's see, I can't really remember it well. Well, anyway, I will share with you, I tend to be a seasonal stitcher. So in this case, it was springtime, so like I stitched something that I thought, you know, seemed to evoke that spring feeling, right? And then I discovered a world of other cross stitchers. And when I started doing, or not cross stitchers, but cross stitch designers, I started kind of categorizing them by season. And so like anytime I would find a pattern I'd like, I'd pin it and put it in that folder for that season. I came across the Tiny Modernist, and so I started stitching her little mouse series. So like here, this is like a Christmas one, or no, that's not Christmas, that is Halloween, as evident by the little skull within the scissors and the pumpkin. Yeah, but she has a whole series of this little mouse in different seasons. So I'll show you. I only have 3 completed. Now, I typically just stitch using DMC. I've tried the Fancy Floss, and I have to be honest, I don't really like it. I don't know. The variegation, like, so for example, this one, I did stitch her dress with the Fancy Floss because I was like, well, that's kind of like a lot of block stitching. Maybe it makes sense to make that color. I don't know. But the thing is, I like to stitch the Dutch. I think it's called the Dutch way, where you do 1/2 and you go down the row and then you come back and do the other way. You can't really do that with Fancy Floss. They tell you with Fancy Floss to stitch, well, I don't know who those people are, the cross stitch rule makers, I don't know. They tell you to stitch 1 at a time. I don't know if that's true, if I'm making that up, but I was thinking with the variegation, that's what I should do. But I don't prefer to stitch that way, so. And then I have one more that is the little Thanksgiving one. And I stitched these on Ada, and this was my first time buying hand-dyed fabric. Was it my first time? I don't know. But I was new to hand-dyed fabric. I think that this is Fiber on a Whim. Cappuccino. But here is my little Thanksgiving mouse. I do really like Tiny Modernist, so I am a sucker for anything whimsical with like animals wearing clothes, drinking their tea, doing like little human things. Yeah, total sucker for that. I also like houses, so there is a store, I live in Central Florida, that I went to. Now, I wouldn't really call this a reliable L&S at all, local needlework store, because the lady randomly, mainly she's a framer, but she sells cross-stitch patterns, floss, and fabric. But the thing is, it's from like 20 years ago, guys. Like, she had all these Lizzie Kate, which if you don't know, Lizzie Kate is out of print. She had so many of them. Anyway, I bought this little series of seasonal houses. This is the summer house. This is also stitched on 14 count. So you see in the beginning, I was just like 14 count. I have no idea what fabric this is. Cause yeah, I wasn't taking notes at that time. But anyway, this does have the Fancy Floss for the roof, the grass, and the house. So the pink, the brown, and the green. Now, can you really tell? I think this is when I stitched this one. I was like, you know what? I don't really think it makes that much of a difference. And for me personally, it's just easier to like have my DMC and just pull from stash. So I kind of quickly got over the whole variegated floss thing. So I don't really stitch normally with variegated floss most of the time. If there is a DMC conversion, I'll just use it. There's one exception to that. I have a Teresa Kogut that did not have a DMC conversion, so I bought the fancy floss for that. Okay, now let me get my notes so I can share with you other things that I thought of I wanted to say. Okay, so I'd say probably the summer of last year I found Flosstube. I can't remember what I was looking for. It was probably an instructional. I was probably searching on how to do something in cross stitch and discovered Flosstube. It brought me to, oh, maybe it was my own framing, because I remember watching a video by Lori Holt, and she was teaching you how she threads her, like when she's gonna frame something herself, they do it with thread. Guys, I took one look at that video and was like, yeah, I won't be doing that. That seems ridiculously tedious. So I just framed mine using that double-sided tape. But because I discovered Lori's video, she was like, I mean, if you don't know who Lori Holt is, she has her own cross-stitch design, quilt design company. She has a lot of like merchandise she sells related to those things. She has her own Flosstube, and she cross stitches a lot. Very prolific. So I think I was like maybe watching a whip parade of hers or something where she was showing like a lot of her work, and I was like, holy crow. But then, you know, you watch one video and then YouTube recommends a whole bunch more. So then I discovered other people like Tara Sullivan, Nicole Spohr, and I just went down a rabbit hole. So then I realized, oh my gosh, I can stitch more than one project at a time. Now I hear a lot of people say that, but it's true. Like, I don't know why our brains don't think that way. At least mine didn't. And I was like blown away. And then once I started stitching more projects, like for example, I found Lola Crow. I loved her, the Haunted Library one. So I immediately purchased that. I do have it stitched up, which I didn't bring it out for whatever reason. It's probably packed away with Halloween stuff, I don't know. But she recommended 18 count, and also it was larger. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try something besides my Charles Craft Crunchy Ada 14 count. And Lola Crow said, do it 18 count with 2 strands of thread, which I've already been stitching with 2 strands, so that wasn't a problem to me. And I'm not a linen stitcher or anything, so I stuck with my Ada and I did 2 strands of thread, and I loved how tiny the stitches were and how full and puffy, like on the fabric. So you can't really tell that it's an X. It just kind of looks like a little blob of color, like a dot instead of an X. And you can't really see the fabric coming through. So I really like the look of that. So, you know, I've stitched several things from last spring to now, and I have determined I really like 18 count with 2 strands of floss. I honestly haven't ever tried 1 strand of floss, but I just really like that coverage. So right now, mostly the fabric that I buy is usually in 16 or 18 count. I don't know, can you hear my cat? Maybe I should let him out. Anywho, let's keep going. All right, so another thing that I like to do. So I had mentioned my first stitch back at it was the Carolyn Manning, and I had a paper copy, which I marked all up, and then I literally threw it away. I don't know what I was thinking. Anywho, Now I don't do that. I use my iPad, which I have right here, and you can see I have a thread dangling from it because this is magnetic. I actually have a needle. That's where I put my needle, in case you were wondering. But yeah, so I use Markup RXP as an app. I do have to pay for it. It's $20 annually. But to me, that is so worth it because I don't like stitching with paper anymore. Now that I have the app, it's so nice. And I know a lot of people feel that Markup is very finicky. However, I don't know. It's just something I have a lot of patience for. So even if, because there are some designers that you can only get paper patterns, they don't do digital patterns. So if I buy a paper pattern, and sometimes stuff's on sale or whatever, and I'll just buy the paper pattern, or I'm in a shop, I will go buy the paper pattern. What I will do is then scan that paper pattern and put it into Markup. And yes, it takes me a while. But I've gotten good at it. I know the tricks of how to make my symbols be recognized. I know how to align the grid. So if ever you guys are like, well, I'd love a tutorial of that, you just let me know, and I'll try to figure out tech-wise how to do that. Let's see, what else? So yeah, I put everything into Markup. A lot of times I will buy digital patterns, which they're usually compatible, and it's very easy to, you know, stitch from. I like Markup because I'm a stat nerd. I love knowing how many stitches are in the design. Oftentimes I will have a focus piece. So I'll just say I'll stitch like, you know, 200 stitches on this one until I get it done. Yeah, so I'm like sitting in front of the window and the sun is coming up. Yeah, so I really enjoy the stitching with a digital copy. Also, I like knowing like the stat of like how far I am I 30%, am I 50%, you know, I love all of that. Yeah, so that's where I'm at. I think currently I have about 17 or 18 works in progress whips. So at some point I'll get with you guys and share with you what I'm working on. But I really want to say thank you to everyone for those who have come and watched my first video, welcoming me to the community. That was really nice. Just the support that I got, because I really wasn't sure how this was gonna go. Like, my setup is a little wonky. If you could see it, I have my camera precariously perched on we have this cat bed that is suction cupped to our window, or kitchen window. And I have a protein box and then my camera on this little camera holder thing, or phone holder thing. It's not a camera, it's my phone. So yeah, it's janky, but it's what I've got. So eventually I'm gonna figure this all out. Yeah. So that's my journey. And I just wanted to share with you a little bit more of the history of stitching. Will I ever stitch on linen? No idea. But I like stitching on Aida because it's easy. Like, I don't have to struggle with the counting. I mean, I do make mistakes with counting, but I feel like I would make a lot more mistakes with linen. And I feel like if you use the higher count of Aida, it doesn't look so obviously like it's Aida. Plus, if you use hand-dyed fabric, they have so many beautiful fabrics now. Like, your access to different threads and fabrics is crazy. And then the different line of designers, like this is not like from 20 years ago, you know, it's amazing. Like there's something for everyone, you know. I don't really stitch a lot of samplers. I have stitched one sampler. I stitched the Lila, is it Lila or Lila's Studios? I did the Peace on Earth one, the Winter Quaker. Love that. Discovered I love Quakers. So I will definitely be stitching more in that line. Quakers are fun. I love like the block stitching, you know, when you can just get a color and just go to town. I love that. I find it very relaxing. So anyway, that's me. So I guess I will just sign off here and say thank you if you're watching. I do appreciate it to know I'm not just speaking into the void. Anyway, it's Saturday here. I guess I didn't say that. It's Saturday, August. What is today? It is the 15th of August, and I'm gonna be having lunch with some of my lady friends. Yeah, so anyway, I'm just starting my day. I hope that you all have a wonderful time, and I guess I'll see you in a couple of weeks at the start of September. So take care, bye. Let me see if I can turn my fan on.